Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're heading straight into the heart of Delhi, a city that's just buzzing with life, incredible history, but also, well, grappling with this ongoing battle against air pollution. It's an invisible enemy, really.
Absolutely. And for years, we've seen different plans, different strategies trying to tackle it. Some seemed promising, others maybe not so much.
Each with its own set of hopes and inevitably hurdles.
And that urgency is key here. Our sources keep showing Delhi's PM 2.5 levels spiking way beyond what's considered safe globally. It's a serious public health issue, not just an environmental number.
Yeah, it demands some bold action.
Definitely. We're talking about millions of people affected. It's where city life really clashes with, environmental health.
Okay, so that sets the scene. Now picture this. A major new plan was about to kick off. A fuel ban targeting older vehicles, diesel over 10 years, petrol over 15. A lot of people saw this as a really significant step.
A potential game changer, right? Hitting a major pollution source directly.
Exactly. It was set for July 1st, but then just days before, everything changed. Unexpectedly, the whole thing's been put on hold.
And that's what we're diving into today. Why the sudden pause? We need to unravel this whole thing, the technical hiccups, the public reaction, all of it.
Right. What does this delay mean for Delhi's clean air fight?
And how does it connect to the bigger picture? Balancing pollution control with actually making it work in a huge city like Delhi. It's ambition meeting reality, basically.
Okay, let's start with the ban itself. What was the vision, the goal?
Well, the core idea was pretty straightforward. Older vehicles pump out a lot of nasty stuff. PM 2.5, nitrogen oxides, they're major contributors to the smog.
We know that. And the Commission for Air Quality Management, the CAQM, they'd set this firm start date back in April 2025, July 1st.
Yeah, the directive was clear, the plan,
Yeah.
simple on paper, cut off the fuel supply to these older, high-polluting vehicles, get them off the road.
And how are they planning to enforce that? It sounds like a logistical nightmare.
Oh, the plan was high-tech, really ambitious. They were rolling out automated number plate recognition ANPR cameras.
ANPR, at fuel pumps.
Exactly. At every single fuel pump across Delhi. The idea was you pull in, the camera scans your plate, checks it against the central Vahan database instantly.
Okay.
And if your vehicle's flagged, maybe it's past its end-of-life date, or you don't have a valid pollution under control certificate, a PUC.
No fuel.
No fuel, the pump would just lock you out. A digital gatekeeper, essentially, designed to enforce existing court orders and push compliance without needing manual checks everywhere.
A seamless digital solution. Sounds good in theory.
In theory, yes. But here's where things got messy. Our sources started reporting significant technical problems, real-world glitches.
What kind of glitches?
Things like malfunctioning sensors on the ANPR systems, cameras not positioned correctly to even read the plates reliably, even reports of non-functional speakers that were supposed to, alert drivers or staff.
Wow. Okay, so not just minor teething issues. These sound like fundamental problems with the rollout.
Pretty much. It sounds almost comical, but for a system meant to manage millions of vehicles, these were serious flaws. The tech just wasn't ready for prime time, it seems.
So what happens then if the enforcement tool itself isn't working properly?
Well, that raises huge questions, right? The implications are massive. One big issue flagged was incomplete database integration, meaning the system in Delhi wasn't fully synced up with neighboring areas in the national capital region, places like Gurugram, Faridabad, Ghaziabad, crucial neighbors.
Ah, I see where this is going.
Exactly. If Delhi enforces the ban, but someone can just drive, say, 10 minutes across the border to Noida or Gurugram and fill up because their systems aren't linked.
It completely undermines the whole point.
Precisely. You risk creating this sort of underground fuel economy, or at least a cross-border refueling rush. It doesn't solve the pollution problem, it just shifts it slightly, maybe even makes regional coordination harder.
Did officials acknowledge this risk?
Yes. Environment Minister Manjinder Singh Sirsa actually warned about this. He argued that pushing ahead immediately would be, and I quote, premature and potentially counterproductive.
So a recognition from the top that the execution wasn't quite there yet.
It seems so. It suggests that sometimes a badly implemented policy can cause more problems than it solves, especially with something that's complex involving so many people.
Okay, so we have the technical failures. But that wasn't the only factor, was it? What about the public?
Oh, the public reaction was immediate and very loud. Social media just exploded.
As it does.
Yeah, it became this instant measure of public feeling. You saw this mix of genuine frustration, but also a lot of sarcasm and humor. The hashtag fuel ban fail started trending almost immediately.
Hashtag fuel ban fail.
Yeah.
Okay. Any specific example?
Loads. Memes popping up everywhere. I saw one with a horse-drawn carriage, captioned something like, "Guess it's back to basics." Videos of people trying and failing to get fuel, tagged with wry comments like, "Tech fail leaves you high and dry."
It really brings home the immediate impact on ordinary people's lives, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It wasn't just an abstract policy anymore. It was directly affecting their daily routines.
And were people articulating specific complaints online beyond the memes?
Oh, definitely. Some were quite pointed. We saw one user on X at Maruti who basically said the government shamelessly scrapped it after public outrage, tech failures, and zero ground preparation. Pretty direct.
Strong words.
Yeah. And another at Nutbolt raised a fairness issue, asking something like, so they punished honest taxpayers who kept cars clean, fined them, then just backtracked when the tech didn't work.
That highlights the expectation that if rules are made, they should be applied consistently and, well, competently.
Exactly. It shows the intense scrutiny policies are under now. In this digital age, every move is instantly analyzed, debated, criticized online. It puts huge pressure on governments to get the implementation right from the start.
Which leads us to the political angle. This kind of situation rarely stays just technical or social, right?
Never. The opposition, particularly the AAP, was very quick to jump on this. They framed the delay as a victory of the people.
Suggesting public pressure forced the government's hand.
That was their narrative, yes. Which creates this interesting contrast with the government's official line, which focused more on the technical readiness issues and the practical challenges we just discussed.
So it leaves you wondering, was it genuinely public pressure that caused the U-turn, or was it a pragmatic decision based on the fact that the system simply wasn't ready?
Or maybe a bit of both.
Right.
The reality is likely complex. Public discontent probably amplified the consequences of the technical failures, making a pause seem more necessary, perhaps.
Right. Okay, so the ban is on hold, but the pollution problem hasn't gone away. What happens now? Is Delhi just waiting?
No, definitely not. And that's important to stress. While the fuel ban is paused, the broader fight against air pollution continues. Minister Sirsa, in his communication about the delay, emphasized this.
What did he say?
He essentially argued that waiting for the ANPR system to be fully integrated across the whole NCR was necessary for fairness and effectiveness. But he also made it clear the government isn't just sitting on its hands.
So what are they doing instead? What are these other fronts?
They're pursuing what they call a multi-pronged approach, tackling the issue from different angles at the same time.
Like what?
Well, for instance, our sources mention large-scale tree plantation drives. Simple, but effective in the long run for increasing green cover and absorbing some pollutants naturally.
Okay, that makes sense. What else?
Stricter enforcement of the existing pollution, under control of the PUC certificate norms, trying to ensure that even the vehicles allowed on the road are running as cleanly as possible. Breakers of checks.
Standard stuff, but important. Anything more? Innovative.
Actually, yes. There are reports of trials involving cloud seeding.
Cloud seeding to make it rain.
Essentially, yes. Trying to induce rainfall to literally wash pollutants out of the air. It's quite an ambitious tactic. Shows the kind of thinking involved.
That's fascinating. And what about the shift away from polluting vehicles altogether?
That's a big one, too. A continued strong push towards electric vehicles, offering incentives, subsidies, and crucially, investing heavily in building up the charging infrastructure needed to make EVs a practical choice for more people.
So it's not just about banning the old, but also encouraging the new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a mix of strategies because the scale of the problem is just immense.
How immense are we talking? Do we have numbers on these older vehicles?
We do. Our research points to around 62 lakh, that's 6.2 million end-of-life vehicles just within Delhi itself.
6.2 million, wow.
Yeah. And that includes a huge number of two-wheelers, about 41 lakh, and 18 lakh four-wheelers, all potentially affected by a ban like this. In expos, we saw estimated almost 9 lakh vehicles affected across the wider NCR.
Removing that many vehicles would obviously have a massive impact on air quality.
Potentially transformative, yes. But think about the other side. For many people, these older vehicles aren't luxuries. They're essential for their livelihoods. Delivery drivers, small traders, taxi operators.
So taking them off the road instantly creates a huge economic burden for potentially millions of people.
Precisely. And that's the tightrope they have to walk. balancing the urgent need for cleaner air with the very real socioeconomic impact on residents. It's incredibly delicate. Any policy has to consider that human cost.
That's a really critical point, and it makes you think Delhi can't be the only city facing this exact dilemma.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
This struggle is playing out in major cities worldwide. And looking at how others have handled it can offer some valuable lessons, maybe some different perspectives for Delhi.
Like where? What examples stand out?
Well, think about London's ultra-low emission zone, the
Yeah.
ULEZ. It doesn't ban vehicles outright, but it charges high-polluting ones a daily fee to enter the zone.
And has that worked?
It seems to have had an impact. Reports show nitrogen dioxide levels down by about 13% since 2019. But it faced huge public backlash, mostly because of the cost, especially for small businesses and people on lower incomes who couldn't easily afford newer compliant vehicles or the daily charge. So, effective, but unpopular and economically challenging for some.
Interesting trade-off. Any other models?
Beijing offers a different approach. They've implemented very strict emission standards, but also used temporary, sometimes quite drastic, vehicle bans during periods of really severe pollution, a more reactive but forceful method.
And closer to home.
Mumbai experimented with the odd-even number plate rationing system a few times. Cars with odd plates drive one day, even plates the next. The results were a bit mixed, but it did seem to reduce traffic and pollution temporarily during those periods.
So a range of approaches globally, each with its own pros and cons. What could Delhi take away from these?
Well, it prompts questions, doesn't it? Could a phased implementation work better? Maybe start with the absolute worst polluters, the oldest commercial vehicles perhaps, before a blanket ban. Give people more time to adapt.
Or focus even more heavily on the carrot instead of just the stick.
Exactly. Stronger incentives. More generous scrappage schemes. Bigger tax breaks for EVs to make switching easier, especially for those who rely on their vehicle for income.
And the public transport angle seems crucial too.
Hugely important. If you want people to give up private cars, you need viable, affordable, extensive alternative. Like London's tube network, though obviously building that scale takes time and massive investment, reducing car dependency has to be part of the long-term solution.
It really puts that earlier report we saw into perspective, the one from early 2025 saying Delhi was making progress, with ANPR installed at most fuel stations.
Right, 477 out of 500, I think it was. It highlights that the issue wasn't necessarily a total lack of preparation, but perhaps those critical final steps, the integration, the testing, the last mile of implementation proved much harder than expected.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah. So stepping back, this delay of the fuel ban in Delhi, as of early July 2025, it's clearly not a simple story. It's this complex mix. You've got ambitious tech hitting real-world snags.
The power of public reaction, amplified by social media, both the frustration and the humor.
And the unavoidable political dimension shaping the narrative. While the technical issues with ANPR and the public pushback were definitely key triggers for the pause.
It's also clear the underlying commitment to tackling pollution is still there, just maybe shifting focus to those other strategies for now.
Right. The multi-pronged approach continues.
This whole episode, this deep dive, it really underscores the incredibly fine lines cities like Delhi have to walk.
Absolutely. It's about marrying that environmental urgency, which is undeniable, with what's actually feasible on the ground. Learning from others, yes, but also making policies that work for your specific context, considering the millions of lives involved.
Inclusive policymaking, really. Balancing the big goals with the everyday impact.
Exactly. So for now, Delhiites might still be filling up those older vehicles, but the fight for cleaner air is far from over. It just got perhaps a dose of reality injected into it.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, our listeners.
Yeah, something to mull over. What happens when that powerful drive for immediate, decisive environmental action runs smack into the messy, complex realities of everyday life and technical challenges in a massive, living city? How do we find that balance, that sweet spot to actually move forward effectively? Not just in Delhi, but anywhere facing these huge environmental tasks.
Keep pondering, keep exploring, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.